I'm not okay with what you're saying. Hey, leave her alone. From one guy to another, the way you're talking about women just isn't cool. These are just a few ways to speak up and be more than a bystander. Break the silence on violence against women.
Well, that is the voice of Travis Lulay from the BC Lions. And, Be More Than a Bystander is a groundbreaking partnership between the BC Lions and End Violence Association of BC aimed at substantially increasing awareness and understanding about the impact of men's violence against women. Sport icons from the BC Lions are using their status and their public profile to create awareness about violence against women in BC and urging everyone to, quote, break the silence on violence against women. And on the line right now we have Jamie Taras. He's the Director of Community Relations for the BC Lions. Good morning, Jamie.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And, from one guy to another, it's really great to hear men's voices speaking publicly about violence against women. And maybe just give us a background. Or this is the third year that the BC Lions are involved in this campaign, and or I guess the third season that you're involved. Just give the listeners a sense of how the BC Lions got involved.
Well, sure, yeah, and you're right. I mean, I guess we were approached by the Ending Violence Association of BC, who's been our partner from the very beginning, and a lady named Tracy Porteous, who's their executive director. And, it came down to the fact that, in many ways this has always been seen as a women's issue. It's one of our PSAs talks about, but it's very much a men's issue because it's men that are committing these crimes. So, for many, many years, women have, spearheaded the efforts to, change legislation, to create safer environments, to teach and train women how to protect themselves and look for the warning signs, to deal with the trauma of someone who's being assaulted, and men had kind of, sat on the sidelines, to use a football metaphor, and hadn't really been involved, hadn't lent their voice when it was men who were committing these crimes. So we were approached, and I guess Tracy had seen something that was done in Australia with Australian rules football, and thought that it would be very interesting to have these sort of, rough, tough men come out and speak on this issue, and so that's sort of how it was all introduced to us. And of course, we weren't really sure what we were getting into at the time, because we really knew nothing about it. But as you look deeper at the statistics in our own province and how widespread it was and how it crossed all cultures and all communities, it was our leadership that stepped up and said, we have to get involved, and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, and as you say, the stats and state the obvious, and this is men committing these crimes, and the BC Lions would probably be considered or stereotyped as this kind of macho place where, and I know you guys work really hard to break down that notion of, you go to BC Place, it's going to be a bunch of yahoos throwing beer cups at the audience. Yeah. So there's this kind of macho profile of the BC Lions, and so in a way, this is also humanizing these guys and also humanizing the BC Lions as that these are outstanding athletes, but these are also human beings who are trying to challenge, I guess, the macho culture and act more human. Yes,
absolutely, and I think as one of our players who's involved in the program puts it when he speaks to the students, he says, we're the ultimate boys club. In our dressing room, it's all male. There are no females. So even if you look at something as simple as an off-color joke about women, okay, what's wrong with that? But it was very interesting when we did our own training to evaluate our attitudes and the way that we think, and to see the damage of a joke and what that can actually mean in terms of building the wrong sort of dynamic between men and women. And so it was very interesting to examine that and to examine our own culture. And of course, when we talk to the kids, we say, hey, you guys face it here in school, with perhaps friends saying things or you saying things, and we let each other get away with it, but we have to hold each other accountable for our attitudes and our actions as it relates to women, because that can all grow into something bigger, and the objectification of women, and ultimately lead to abuse and violence. So I think that that whole progression was a real learning for us, and our guys did a fantastic job. We did about 3 8-hour days of training with a renowned expert on gender violence, a fellow named Jackson Katz. So it wasn't something that we took lightly, for sure, and we've got a great group of guys who are out there representing the program.
Yeah, and let's just give our listeners a sense of what the guys actually do. They're actually, in addition to the public profile stuff and the radio and the TV stuff, you're actually meeting the public as well.
Yeah, so part of the program was integrated. We had a clinic initially for amateur football coaches, and try to talk to them again, sort of, you can give someone a fish or you can teach them to fish, and we thought that the coaches could have a great influence on the many players that they come across during the course of their careers. And so it was a little bit of an enlightenment for them, again, looking at this issue and what can we do as coaches to help guide the young men that are under our care and that we're teaching. And so that was the first thing we did, and then we branched out into the schools. We do about 20 to 25 presentations each off-season in different communities across the province of British Columbia, and we go into the schools, we talk about the issues, and that was a piece that for me was at first a little bit scary, because of course we're football players, we're not experts on gender violence or on these issues, and so it was very interesting when I approached the fellow who taught us, Jackson, and I said, I'm a bit concerned. He said, Jamie, just the fact that you're men, your role models in the community, and you're actually speaking about this issue, he said that's enough, and it kind of alleviated all the pressure of knowing all the right answers. And when we get into the schools, it's really very facilitative. So we'll certainly share with them some of the stats in our own province, but we'll get into scenarios and say, hey, a girl walks into your cafeteria, she's wearing a short skirt, you and your buddies are standing there, one of them makes an off-color remark, she's obviously very uncomfortable. What do you do? And we talk to the kids about that scenario, and both young men and young women are in the room, and we get the back and forth, and they give us the answers. And really our goal in those presentations is for the kids to come out with some options that they would be comfortable using in a situation that they encounter around gender violence. So it's been amazing to see the appetite of the schools for this topic, and as many of our guys say, it's been a very rewarding experience on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I guess a lot of these guys are also dads in their own right too, so they've got kids and they know, and their kids are daughters as well. So it's full circle. Jamie, really great to talk to you, and I really appreciate you taking the time and telling us a little bit more what the BC Lions is doing around Be More Than a Bystander, and we're going to play a little bit more of the clips, and we'll continue playing them on the program. So
that'd be great, and thanks for your support. And I just think we should acknowledge, these programs aren't possible without the federal government getting involved, the provincial government, and in Canada, one of the corporations stepped up, as well as the broadcasters of BC, the city of Surrey, the city of Vancouver, and the BCGEU. So we had tremendous support along the way, and without those partners, we certainly wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay. Thanks, Jamie. Have a good day. And
thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Best of luck with the season.
Thank you.
Okay. Speaking with Jamie Taras, he's the Director of Community Relations for the BC Lions, and glad to have the voice of the Lions on the program. And let's hear another voice from the program, and really just shows the breadth of this. Is J.R. LaRose here talking about 582 missing and murdered Aboriginal women.
I'm J.R. LaRose from One Arrow First Nations. As of 2010, there are more than 582 known reports of missing or murdered Aboriginal women in Canada, with BC recording more than any other province or territory. Be more than a bystander. Break the silence on violence against women.